Our speaker this evening is the founder and global CEO of Black Marketing, which is a global marketing consultancy that specializes in enabling LinkedIn for C-suite executives and entrepreneurs across the world. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chris Reed.
So these are top 10 tips how to use LinkedIn, because I started using LinkedIn when I first came to Asia. But what is LinkedIn? It's very important you understand that LinkedIn is a peer-to-peer network in a business context. That means it's about professionalism. It's not Facebook, it's not WeChat, it's not Twitter, and it's definitely not Tinder. So LinkedIn now has about 500 million professionals on their service. Now they're not trying to be Facebook, they're not trying to be WeChat with 2 billion and 3 billion and 4 billion. It's all about professionals. It's about Singaporean professionals, Hong Kong professionals, professionals in KL and Indonesia, Australia, and so forth. And you look at where these people are, without shadow of a doubt, number 2, number 3 countries in the world are in Asia. Asia's where it's at. When I first came to Asia 8 years ago, there was 10 million people using LinkedIn. Now there's 110 million people. And now we have the second and the third biggest countries in the world. The biggest country is obviously America, but it'll be overtaken pretty soon by India and China, because they're catching up and the speed's getting up, internet's getting up. I mean, I was in Myanmar yesterday, and even Myanmar has 235,000 people on LinkedIn. And actually their internet speeds, I have to tell you, is faster than, where is it? Australia, it's not on this one, Australia and New Zealand. So they're going to pick up, there's 60 million, 70 million people in Myanmar. And they're all keen to learn about how they can use LinkedIn to achieve their goals. So that's the smallest country in Asia. They're going to catch up people like Vietnam and Thailand, who are also 100 million countries. So think about that. You're in the fastest growing, the most exciting area in the whole of the world when it comes to LinkedIn. This is where the growth is. But why listen to me? Well, I came to Asia 8 years ago. I escaped the UK. I escaped the drizzle. I escaped Brexit. I forecast Brexit clearly. And I came to this wonderful city. Look at these beautiful views where the sun shines and it's always hot. And I don't like seasons, you see. I only like one season. I think the other 3 seasons are overrated. I like this season, the summer season, because the other 3 seasons are very cold. And the UK, they're all the same. They're all very cold. So I came to beautiful Singapore with 250 connections. And I then say, what do? I don't know anybody. I literally did not know a single person. So I started using LinkedIn. And I used my contacts in LinkedIn in the UK to say, okay, who do you know in Singapore? And they said, try this guy, try this girl, try this guy. And they said yes when I reached out to them on LinkedIn. I thought, that's amazing. Not only that, they said, I will have a cup of coffee with you tomorrow. I go, my God, tomorrow? That would never happen in the UK in a million years. People might say 6 months' time or in a year, if you're lucky. But in Singapore, it's more open-minded, more the expats are, the locals are, people want to say yes. And so it became easy to get networking and use LinkedIn to network. And I built my contacts up. I got my first, my second, and my third job by networking on LinkedIn. None of these jobs were advertised. Then I started using those jobs, and they were all BD roles and marketing roles across the whole of Asia Pacific, where again, did not know a single person. But I started using LinkedIn and target people in China, Indonesia, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, India. And it works. And then I created Black Marketing, because there's clearly a need for people to know about how to use LinkedIn. So we created that 4 years ago. And we floated it last year on the NASDAQ, because there's such a need to basically understand how to use LinkedIn from a personal perspective, but also a business perspective. So that's why it grew and grew and grew. And as you see there, I'm a power profile, LinkedIn power profile for 5 years. I'm the only entrepreneur, only marketing entrepreneur who wins that. Normally, you get it if you're the CEO of DBS, or the CEO of Singtel, or the CEO of MediaCorp, because you get millions of views anyway, whereas entrepreneurs have to fight harder. So it's a real achievement to actually get that standard. And the new LinkedIn Power Profiles are coming up in August. And it won't be anyone surprised that I'm also on that as well. I've also got the book. So the book is actually the #1 book about LinkedIn in the world. I kid you not. Amazon.com in the States, Amazon.co.uk in UK, France, Germany, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, across the world. So if you win one of these books tonight by asking a good question, you're winning the best book about LinkedIn in the world. So there you go. And if I sign it, the value does go up, doesn't go down. Honest. And we've been on this, what we like to call the Rockstar Profile Global Tour. So yesterday I was in Myanmar. Last week I was in Wellington and Auckland, in very cold, very freezing New Zealand. Took me back to the UK. It was drizzly and damp and grey the whole week there. I thought, this is why I don't live in the UK anymore. Before that, I was in Australia. A couple of weeks' time, I'm going to Brisbane and Taiwan because people want to know about how to use LinkedIn. Welcome. So there's 4 steps to success on LinkedIn. 4. Personal branding. It's all about you. Company branding, employer branding. It's about your company, about the company you own or the company you work for. And then it's about content marketing and thought leadership. And then it's about messaging. It's about social selling. And we'll go through all these 4, round the 10 tips we're going to talk about today. But I love this quote, not because I like James Blunt, I hasten to add. I don't. As you might tell, I'm a bit of a rock appreciation person. I'm going to the Foo Fighters, been to see Metallica. James Blunt, not really my kind of thing, but he played on radio in Singapore non-stop. But I like this quote, because it sums up LinkedIn. James Blunt, who's English, says, I'm self-deprecating because I'm British. If I was American, I would tell you how great I was. And that's what Americans do, without foundation half the time, but they say it anyway, as we've been proven by the fact that the guy who does that the most is the President of the United States. That's another matter. But the point is, on LinkedIn, you have to promote yourselves. I know it's not an Asian thing, it's not an English thing either. It's not even a New Zealand thing. They told me last week, oh, we're very shy, we're very, we have the best rugby team in the world, and now we have the best team who can do America's Cup. Even though I found out the America's Cup is not mostly full of Australians, both on the Australian side and the New Zealand side, which I found very strange. But nevertheless, they had the best boat. Not the best, and the best team. But they're self-deprecating. They don't promote themselves. They're quite modest. A lot of Asians are as well, if you're in here or Hong Kong or in China. And British people are as well, whereas Americans aren't. So if you don't go out there and claim the credit for that thing you did do, you know what's going to happen? Some Americans going to come along and claim the credit, whether or not they did it or not. So be wary, promote yourselves, be confident about yourselves. So LinkedIn's very much a gamification platform. Now what I mean by that is, by merely doing things on LinkedIn, you get rewarded. So the status goes up, your views go up, your search goes up just by doing things on LinkedIn. It's quite phenomenal. So just put some effort in and you'll see some benefit. And if you Google yourself, the first thing that comes up is actually your LinkedIn. So the first impression someone getting of your personal brand, you try it. First impression. It's not your Facebook, it's not your Twitter, it's not your website, it's actually your LinkedIn. And people underestimate that. They think, I don't need to be on LinkedIn because no one can find me. Try Google. Although I did this in Myanmar yesterday, and they said, no one uses Google in Myanmar. They use Facebook for search. So, okay, that's my slide out. I'll go on. I won't use that slide again in Myanmar. But if you Google your company, the same thing happens. Your LinkedIn company comes up. And that's what you got to really understand. It's not just about LinkedIn itself. It's about how you are found. And that first impression when someone clicks on your LinkedIn profile. So the first tip is your profile photograph. And I've seen some of your profile photographs. Oh my God. They should look like this. These are 2 of my team members in Capitol Tower, just over there somewhere. Smiling. It's like this. You approach people at networking events who are smiling, whose body language says, talk to me. You don't talk to the person in the corner whose arms is folded, who clearly doesn't want to be here. And LinkedIn's the same. Be positive, be bright. Use the color. You've got a little circle there. Use the color to stand out. I'm not saying have a blue mohawk and a red background, but use the color. Don't do this. As much as I might aspire one day to being George Clooney, I'm not. So I can't use his profile picture. And as much as I might want you to show me the money, I can't claim to be Tom Cruise either. So be genuine. And if this guy walked into the room now, you'd all run away. And if you're going to use Shutterstock image, it's best to remove the watermark so people at least think you're that pretty until they meet you, and just like on Tinder, they then get disappointed. And animals, I don't get the way you use animals. These are like Facebook photographs on LinkedIn. This is like you're down at Boat Key and someone says, it's 3 a.m., you're singing I Will Survive, you've had a few drinks, why don't you dress as a panda? I'll take a picture and put it on LinkedIn. And it's 3 a.m., you've had a few drinks, you're singing I Will Survive. You think, yes, I'll say yes to anything. And this lady up here doesn't look very happy about the fact she's got a big inflatable duck behind her. And which one's Melita? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. How do you create a relationship with someone you don't even know? And there's 5 weirdos to choose from up there. I don't want to talk to any of them. And animals on LinkedIn. I don't get animals on LinkedIn. Look at this one. This one's a koala bear. Now that's the national symbol of Australia. He's Malaysian. I don't get it. This guy's into medical tourism. What's a leopard got to do with medical tourism? I don't know. This guy's a CEO. What's a parrot got to do with being a CEO? I'm racking my brains going, there's a connection here. He's a CEO of a parrot, a zoo. What is it? I don't understand it. And I wasn't going through, I don't know what's going through Joe's mind here. I really don't. She's dressed as a horse, jumping. But she's in communications. What is she doing? And this guy tried to fit in as many different photographs of himself in one photograph as humanly possible. And creative people tend to be overly creative on LinkedIn. They think it's ironic to cover their face. They think it's also unique when I have a go at them. And they say, no one else on LinkedIn does this, Chris. I say, really? No one else on LinkedIn does this? I can give you 1,000 examples where people are being ironic on LinkedIn, covering their faces. And he's got too many hands for my liking. And Elizabeth went for the full Tinder look. It's not just what she's wearing, it's what she's doing. And look what she does for a living and who she works for. She's the human resources manager, in charge of things like sexual misconduct, for Hyatt hotels. Can you imagine going for an interview with her? What would you wear? Well, my personal favorite's got to be this one. Only someone who works for Google and lives in America could get away with such a ridiculous photograph. But if you get it right, it increases your views by 14 times. 14 times. People do not trust people they can't see. It's like this. People trust people they can see. Now, your background picture is also important. This is the wonderful co-working space that I work at down in Capital Tower, Collective Works. And Jonathan here is using it, the background picture, to market it. Aaron here is marketing Dash Service Suites in Hong Kong. Mark Conrad in Seoul, using it, the background picture. Shah has a beautiful book out. Jerome, who many of you might know, has multiple books out. So you put all of them in the background picture. Now you can do the same thing. Everyone's got the background picture for free. Andrew does this. He's got his TED Talk there. He's got his books here. And he's got his branding there. So in one fell swoop, he's created a brand portfolio, a brand presence. So you know exactly what his brand is. You can do the same thing for your brand. And I like using this quote. It's the subject, the title of this talk. My granddad, when I was 9 years old, he said to me, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And I didn't know what he meant, but of course, as my career progressed and I learned to know people, particularly as I switched continents and switched countries, I realized that LinkedIn and the power of relationships is absolutely key. It's about who you know. It's not about what you know. And you can use the background picture to remember to really focus on that. Don't do this. Nothing at all. This is the default blue that LinkedIn give you if you don't know how to use LinkedIn or you can't bother to put something else unique up there. Use it to market yourself. It's free. Well, this is my friend Ron. And every time I see him, I say, how's your garden, Ron? Because this is an overgrown garden, which doesn't say much about his brand, but he's very proud of it. And this guy, I don't think he meant to cut off all the heads of the people he interviewed. But nevertheless, he uploaded a picture and then didn't check what it looked like on LinkedIn. And this guy didn't check the line. So Toby here wrote, I'm by winning. Does that mean he likes losing? I don't know because I can't see the rest of the quote. But your brand profile headline, this one here, follows you everywhere on LinkedIn. So think about your personal branding. Think about your keywords. If you do a search, for example, on LinkedIn for personal branding, 67,000 searches come up. I'm number one because I use it in my headline, my experience, my summary, my content marketing. So think about how you use it. It's just like Google. You need to SEO your LinkedIn profile on LinkedIn. So I kind of cheat because this is my first name. This is my second name. This is my maiden name. And obviously I'm not married before, but I thought LinkedIn would give me more space. So I thought I'd use it. So you can do the same thing. So this is the actual headline. So we're using things like LinkedIn, entrepreneur, LinkedIn, best-selling author. And funnily enough, my team always use LinkedIn, LinkedIn, LinkedIn. When you search on LinkedIn, people who work at LinkedIn or my team come up, even though we do not work at LinkedIn. Because we know how to use LinkedIn and people who work at LinkedIn do not. They know how to sell it, not how to use it. And we use the personal branding strapline, only NASDAQ listed CEO with a mohawk. And one of my friends decided to take the mickey out of that. He decided that he is the only non-NASDAQ listed CEO on LinkedIn with a dog on his head. He's got a dog on his head, which I thought was fantastic because he does creativity. More seriously, Ross here, founder at Nice and Polite, building connections between brands and consumers. He's getting his point across. Benjamin here, he may know, public speaking coach. I help clients speak effectively for business, impact, and sales. So you know what he can do for you using his headline. You can do the same thing. You can use your headline. I love this from Cindy. I like to blow shit up. I am the Michael Bay of business. Does everyone know who Michael Bay is? Because that joke doesn't work if you don't know who Michael... Okay, Transformers. You know Transformers films? Okay, Transformers films. They blow things up in Transformers films. Okay, have to start explaining jokes. They're no longer jokes. But Cynthia here, no relation. She tells a whole story here. Some call my spouse and I the power couple. Married for 41 years, we encourage others. So she's talking about what she does and how she does it. And these are donuts. Because she believes that donuts are key to marriage, apparently. I think you both get fat together and nobody else fancies you. I think that's the key. I'm not sure. And even love doctors are on LinkedIn. I love this love doctor. He's love doctor. But he only specializes in love doctoring in certain countries. India, Delhi, because obviously Delhi's a different country, UK, USA, and Canada. So sorry, he doesn't come to Singapore, or Hong Kong, or Australia. And if he started this fire in my co-working space, he wouldn't last very long. Don't do this. Lonely and young girl. If you know her, she lives in Singapore. We want to stop her being lonely. There she is on that swing in that playground all by herself, somewhere in Singapore. I am a hot girl. Not just because she's in Delhi, it's actually because she thinks she's a hot girl. Human being. He's put human being down as if you put into LinkedIn, I want to find a human being. It's like there are 500 million human beings. Shelley Shara, wife of Stephen Shara. Why would she do that? Particularly as Stephen did not reciprocate. Stephen does not say, husband of Shelley. And surely he should. Because Dale does. Dale does, spouse of owner of a Picoso Mexican restaurant. He has no standing by himself. He's merely going out with someone in a dodgy restaurant in Hong Kong. Kate and Gary Wallace. I find this very creepy because they describe themselves as founder. Founder, not founders. Founder, as in they're conjoined or something. What I really want to know, cynically, he asks, who gets the LinkedIn when they get divorced? You have the kids, I'll have the LinkedIn. No. I want the LinkedIn, you can have the kids. I'm waiting for that first divorce court appearance in Singapore, Supreme Court. I award the LinkedIn to Mr. So-and-so. Shaka O'Neill, owner, a lot of companies. Currently, a lot of companies, Inc. Because he's Shaka O'Neill. Mike Nackey, the coolest guy in Nashville. Google it to see for yourself. So we did, and he is. Coolest guy in Nashville. Imagine he came second. Imagine being the second coolest guy in Nashville. See, they got the joke over there. Why didn't you get the joke? Okay, fine. You obviously know about SEO, don't you? Okay, fine. Dave K, executive demigods. Demigods. And Miracle Health. I'm sorry, that is not a photograph to sell Miracle Health. Unless that is the before to the after, and the after is George Clooney. Lecturer at retired and enjoying time with the family. Does he look like he's enjoying time with the family or on the way to Changi prison? My personal favorite, though, the amount of detail on this is amazing. Dracula the vampire. Genuine profile. 125 years he's been doing this. Founder and CEO of Bite of Life Company. Previously the biz dev director at Coffins R Us. Just next to Toys R Us in Paragon. And of course, he took night school at Transylvania University. But he has more connections than most of you do, and he's a premium member on LinkedIn. So obviously, people are looking for life extension solutions on LinkedIn. But your headline appears everywhere. Someone did for the Business Times, and I shared it. My headline comes up. It comes up when you search. It brands you constantly, comes up when you like, comes up when you comment. Everywhere you go on LinkedIn, it comes up. That's why it's so important. It brands you and brands you and brands you. It reminds people what you do on other people's profiles, on the mobile, in search. Everywhere you go, it comes up. Look at the comparison between the two. It's important for keywords, but it's also important for marketing you, branding you time and time and time again, and it's free. Think about your keywords. Think about your personal branding. Everywhere you go on LinkedIn, it comes up. Now you combine both for maximum employer branding. This is really, really cool for Alison. She changed all her team's profiles, red and white, Singapore colors. Every single one of them. How powerful that is. Really, really strong branding. Great company branding. So I can see where Alison is every single time Alison comes up. These guys went the other way, went black and white. Probably because they were New Zealanders, they went all black, white, all black, black. So Ogilvy doing a nice job. Ogilvy. Always a nice picture, smiling, bright. Very strong branding. Amoria here in Singapore, nice background picture, nice photograph. Strong branding. Hudson did the same thing, very strong branding. But they missed out the bottom bits. Got the top bits right, but then they didn't include the bottom bits. They didn't decide what Hudson is, or describe Hudson in different ways. You should never do that. You should always think outwardly and externally. You always copy from the company page and describe your company in one way. Never what you do at your company, but what your company can do for somebody else, just like your website. It's all about what you can do for somebody else. You can use it for CSR, community involvement. These guys made every single person change their profiles purple, using a purple hat. And every single person who did, they gave money to charity. Really, really nice, just simple. They branded it and marketed it and blogged it. When we launched the book, we changed the background picture for the book, and I got all my team to do the same thing. To market the book, very simple. Free marketing, completely free. We did blogging and content about it. So you use a headline to tell people where you are. So I traveled quite a lot across Asia Pacific. So I put in here, I'm in Melbourne, and changed the background picture to Melbourne. So I let people know in Melbourne, I was in Melbourne. Same thing was in Sydney. Said I was in Sydney. Background picture in Sydney. Same with Hong Kong. This means that when you're in that country, like I was in Myanmar yesterday, people go, Chris is in Myanmar, let's have a coffee, let's have a drink. Otherwise, how do they know you're there? They don't know you're there. That's the whole point. The headline follows you around and markets you on a continuous basis. So letting people know where you are, particularly when you're traveling in Asia, as many people do, it's phenomenally easy for you to then get engagement, to be found by somebody. So your personal brand story on LinkedIn is very important. So you get 2 lines now, because LinkedIn have changed this, to actually impress people and to make them see more down here. So think about that. Think about inspiring those people on those 2 lines to get them to click more. And talk about yourself in the first person, not the third person. It's like this, like a networking event. If you start talking to people about in your third person here, people would move away from you. If I started saying, Chris did this and Chris did that, you'd be going, move away from her, move away from him. First person, not third person. Don't do this, nothing at all. Missing an opportunity. Or this, a lifelong passion for problem solving. It means nothing. It doesn't differentiate that person from anybody else. Everyone in this room could fulfill that. Or this person swallowed a dictionary. Flexible, global, interdisciplinary with a view for the big picture. It means nothing. It's gobbledygook. This is the worst one. A business leader. What does that mean? I have no idea. It applies to every single person in this room. You're all business leaders. So it didn't differentiate this person and anybody else. And look who wrote this. He works for LinkedIn. And he really should be setting the standards as to how you use a summary section, for example. And friends tell me, I hasten to add, friends tell me, this is apparently the best tantric massage out-call service in Shanghai. What I really like about this, if I ring her up, I say, I'm a marketing entrepreneur, she won't see me, because you have to be fun-loving, sensual, adventurous, and an art lover. So you have to ring up and go, I like Monet and climbing mountains. And then she says she'll see you. What I love about this, though, is they provide guided tours, translation and personal secretarial services. And the best bit here, and we're in view of the National Gallery here, the Singapore National Gallery here, they sponsor one of Shanghai's leading art galleries. Can you imagine one of the massage parlors around here sponsoring the National Gallery in Singapore? No, neither can I, ever, in my lifetime. And your CV, why would you put your CV on LinkedIn? You don't need your CV on LinkedIn. Your LinkedIn is your CV. My favorite, though, is this one. And girls, if you're going to dump somebody, don't do it on LinkedIn. I hate cheating, lying, and fighting. My ex-boyfriend cheated on me, so now I have to be single. I need to find somebody caring and honest and open-minded and romantic. I need to find them quickly and now. And when I find them, I will be with them for the rest of my life. Has anyone seen Fatal Attraction? Bunnies are boiling. I'm running away from this woman. I connect with most people on LinkedIn. Even I would not connect with this girl. She frightens the life out of me. But your experience is also very important. That's what I'm talking about. Everyone who works with black marketing describes black marketing in the same kind of way. Whether they're in London or Sydney or Sweden, it's external, not internal. Make sure you talk about what you can do for other people. Don't do this. Sterility assurance. I have no idea what that means, but it sounds very painful. All this is the love doctor. I love the love doctor. Love marriage. It's an interesting one. Then it says husband-wife disturbance. Convince parents for a love marriage. That'll go down well in Singapore. Affair other person. How do you have an affair by yourself? Get your lover back. And then he's a fantastic love doctor because he sorts all your love doctoring out in one goes, and all your problems in life, in fact. Divorce problem. So you go to him and you go, oh, that's your divorce sorted, Chris. How's your business going? It's a funny question for a love doctor. But yes, he does business problems as well. And then he says, how's your MBA coming along, Chris? That's a really funny question for a love doctor. But he sorts that out as well. But my favorite line here, one of the favorite lines ever on LinkedIn, be free from enemy, / second wife. What happened to the first wife? What kind of love doctoring is he doing? And Peter here is out of work. So LinkedIn tell me that Peter is celebrating a work anniversary at 4 years out of work. Not only that, they say, congratulate Peter for being out of work for 4 years. Can you imagine how many people just went click, 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 click. Well done, mate. Out of work for 4 years. Fantastic. Visual content's really important. Brings your profile to life. If you click on this, for example, this comes up and then this comes up, the website. You can't put web links into LinkedIn, it doesn't work. You have to put the link in the media and then it comes up. And much more visually attractive. This is how you do it. Very, very simple. If you follow most of the things that LinkedIn does, it just makes your profile look more superstar. Don't do this. Lots of web links. Don't work. You can't click on web links on LinkedIn. So don't do it. Add your skills. So you allowed 3 skills, and you can see 47 more. So I put all mine. You can manipulate your own skills, edit your own skills, add your own skills. Don't do this. You do not want to be endorsed for PowerPoint or Excel or Word, because people genuinely think you know how to use a computer these days. It's like being endorsed for smartphone or Google search. People don't want to do it. And if you're awesome, particularly for the Americans in the room, you can be endorsed for both awesomeness and general awesomeness. I have no idea what the difference is. I'm sure some American could come and tell you. The irony is, when I did this for a guy here, he's in real estate and he's English, and he says, I'm not awesome, I sell real estate. But the problem with this is if you do not do it, you don't fill up your 50 skills, you know what happens? Other people do. And they put things in like Thai massage, or wine drinker, or banjo playing. And then other people go along and go, oh, I'll endorse him for banjo playing, or Thai massage, or wine drinking. Then you get a very skewed set of skills. So you've got to fill up the 50 skills yourself, otherwise other people will, and LinkedIn will. Now you can market your company through LinkedIn. Market your company through content. This is all free. All these advice, all these tips are free. LinkedIn suggests this, 4-1-1. That means for every hard sell post you talk about your company and your service, you've got to share 1 about your environment, your industry, and then 4 unrelated posts. Maybe about Singapore, Asia, or business, or leadership. Now this is LinkedIn's #1 profile. No, it's not me. And it's not Richard Branson. It is Candice. And you're going, who's Candice? She's an amazing female entrepreneur. She does have a handy website which she markets called bikinilux.com, which, considering that she's targeting affluent males on LinkedIn, helps. And she's a bikini model. That also helps. So before the controversy, she used to do really, really boring blogs. And then she started using her product in her blogs. Is it appropriate to be on LinkedIn while at work? With a bikini. Social media has changed society. With a bikini in a field. 5 tips to land your dream job. Clearly, you need to wear a bikini. 5 things unhappy people don't know. They're not wearing bikinis. And then this happened. Now prepare yourselves. I know this is Singapore, so I know you're very sensitive to these kind of things. This is the most controversial, the most complained about picture ever on LinkedIn. Prepare yourselves. I've had people faint when I've showed this picture. Faint. That one. Oh, no one's fainted. Okay. This is Miss Universe showing one of her bikinis, which she's selling, so it's her business. So she got millions of complaints, and she wrote a blog about it. So a blog on LinkedIn which went viral, hundreds of thousands of views. And what I love about this is people said to her, how dare you show bikinis on LinkedIn? It's for business. And she said, my business is bikinis. And then people said it's pornography. And they must have been from the Midwest of America. And then people said, now you know how things like Facebook works. If you don't want to see someone's feed, then basically you just stop following them. If you don't want something to go viral on your feed, you do not comment. Because if you comment, it goes to every single person who's also commented and every single person who's liked it, so it goes viral. So this person complained to Candice and said, I don't want to see this kind of content on my feed. Please block me. And she wrote back and said, just unfollow me. And then this person here had a whole conversation with Candice, where he kept on commenting and said, how dare you show this in my feed? Stop it now. And she said, stop commenting. And he said, I'm still seeing it in my feed. And I said, because you're still commenting. And then she got banned, she got deleted, she got taken out. So many people from the Midwest of America complained. Then she got put back. And she got massive media coverage, enormous media coverage. It said, bikini businesswoman skillfully handles outraged LinkedIn community because they're so sensitive on LinkedIn. But then the really cool thing was she said, when I started the LinkedIn campaign, all I had was a swimwear website. Now I have a brand through content marketing, which anyone in this room can do. Content marketing is free, completely free. Now she's getting manufacturing companies coming to her, wanting her to produce a clothes range and a skincare range. She's got books out and podcasts. She's on TV. She now charges $100,000 for half an hour's talk. And she sells millions of dollars of bikinis through LinkedIn. It now beats Pinterest and Instagram, which are more susceptible and more that kind of area, than those do. So LinkedIn works in terms of driving people who are targeting affluent males and affluent fields because professional to buy an affluent product like this. But no one's following her company page, only 4,500 followers. People follow her. It's all about you. It's about your personal brand. She markets her company. She's got 60,000 followers. She markets her company through her personal brand. And that's the key. It's about you marketing yourself and marketing your company, not the company page. So you too can become a thought leader. One of my best examples of this, Arne Sorensen, who owns the JW Marriott just over there. Well, he doesn't personally own it, but obviously the company owns it. Largest hotel chain in the world. And he uses LinkedIn to market his brand. If you think about the Marriott Starwood, who are they targeting? Employees. They're on LinkedIn. Future employees are on LinkedIn. Shareholders are on LinkedIn. People who book rooms are on LinkedIn. People who book conference rooms like this are on LinkedIn. People who entertain clients at the bar, at the JW Marriott, or the restaurant, at the Starwood, they're on LinkedIn. So he understands by engaging with content, by sharing genuine tips about business world, he's engaging and presenting the Starwood Marriott brand as the business brand to go to. Sam Shank also markets a company called Hotel Tonight. That's a very small brand, but he's also using content marketing to engage because he understands that his business and his business employees and his stakeholders are on LinkedIn. So that's what I mean. You can do the same thing. He's also getting things like 500,000 views. But you'll notice his blogging, he's not talking about Hotel Tonight. He's talking about things that are genuinely interested to people on LinkedIn. Business people. So this one here is about how to trick yourself into becoming a morning person. Now, obviously, that's linked to being in a hotel, but it's also about business. And that got people commenting and liking and sharing. And that's how content marketing works on LinkedIn. So the most followed profile on LinkedIn is Richard Branson. 11.5 million followers. And he's very, very, very clever the way he uses content marketing. But again, it's all free. He's not doing anything you can't do. You can do it as well. Now, it's always a very fun picture of Richard. It's very deliberately contrived to make you think this is the happiest, most entrepreneurial company in the whole of the world. But of course, he's a literary holistic effect of the whole of the Virgin Empire. 220 companies he runs. So this markets all his companies by using words like passion, fun, happiness, Richard with the team, company culture, Richard with no tie, lose the tie. So it's all about using the personal brand to market the companies. Because nobody's following his company pages. Remember, he has 11 million followers. His top company has 100,000 followers. Less than 1% of people follow Virgin companies that follow him. So people are following you, not your company page. Virgin Atlantic, 100,000 followers. Virgin Media, 100,000 followers. Virgin Active, 50,000 followers. Virgin Mobile, 10,000 followers. No one wants to follow a plane company. They want to follow a person. It's peer-to-peer in a business context. It's all about you. LinkedIn actually market your blog for you. They tell all your connections about your blogging. They email your connections. They email people that might know your connections, who might think you're interested in that content. They will market the blog for you. That's why LinkedIn is the best publishing platform in the world for blogs. That's why you can do it. You can become an author on LinkedIn. You have it too. Just because Arne Sorensen and Richard Branson's written it doesn't mean it's amazing. It doesn't have to be Shakespeare either. It has to be 2 or 3 points. And that's all you're looking for. And you get all this data on LinkedIn about who's liking, who's commenting, who's sharing. So you can share content as well, unique content. So when we marketed the book, we used screen grabs. We didn't just go and say, buy the book. We were slightly clever than that. We took screen grabs of how well the book was doing in Amazon.com and Amazon.fr and put that on LinkedIn because it associated us in the business section. And this was May last year. So this was 6 months before Trump became president. And I joked on LinkedIn this. I said, I am more popular than the next United States president on Amazon. I was joking. I did not know that he'd become president. I should put money on it. But he has 5 books. I only have 1 book. But I was beating him, so I used the screen grab, we marketed the book. It's quite a clever way of doing it. And then in France, and it amazes me to this day that I, as an English person, am popular in France. Because we fought wars that lasted for hundreds of years. I think we're still fighting about 16 of them. And I was beating Elon Musk and Steve Jobs, but I was #1 in the business section of Amazon.fr. And I shared that, and people liked it and commented. But that wasn't just about sharing this, it's about marketing the book. It's about associating the book with different entrepreneurs and saying, buy this book, without actually saying, buy the book. And that's how content marketing works. So I was in Auckland last week doing 3 talks in 1 day, which was actually exhausting. I'd run out, my voice did not last. But it got thousands of views and thousands of likes just by sharing that on LinkedIn, something unique. People like unique visual things on LinkedIn. This is the summary afterwards, 3 talks in 1 day. You notice 3 different t-shirts too. Very important to have 3 different t-shirts. It's about photo opportunities. But it works because it's just something unique. People like to see what you're doing in a business context on LinkedIn. When I did interviews, I did an interview with NUS, over there. But they didn't produce a digital version, so I did a digital version for them and shared it on LinkedIn. So it's things like that people like. This is from IBM, smarter ideas for smarter cities. Something eye-catching. Doesn't have to be rocket science. Has to be something, can be something interesting, visually attractive. I like this one. Looks like free beer. It's not. It's free Wi-Fi, great beer. But makes you look, makes you smile. I love this. He is the happiest general manager of any hotel in the world. Doesn't he look like it? He's the general manager of the Ritz-Carlton in Cancun. He took this photograph, shared it. He's got hundreds and hundreds of likes and comments. People going, I want to work for you. I want to have an event at your hotel. And it's just amazing because in one photograph, you look at that and go, wow, look at that beach. There's not a single oil tanker to be seen. Okay, 3 people got that joke, okay. That reminds me of real estate adverts in Singapore. You see real estate adverts in Singapore, and the sea is beautifully blue, and they've wiped out all the oil tankers. Anyway, move on. So if you have a big report, you can do reports on LinkedIn. Visual. Drive people to the big report, but take out 2 or 3 different little angles. Think about visually, when you're going through a feed on LinkedIn like Facebook, you're looking at eye-catching things. Don't try and be too clever. You're not trying to do Shakespeare. You're trying to get 2 or 3 points over. That's all you're trying to do. You want to share, comment, and like. So I've done this talk in Shanghai, for example. So the guy organized it, liked it, shared it. I liked it, shared it. So we both, as we talked about earlier, made sure that it goes in our feed to our connections. And then I like Candice's stuff, and Candice likes my stuff, even though none of my stuff has bikinis in it. You'd be glad to know. And you want to develop your company page. So this is our company page of Black Marketing. Has about the fact we're NASDAQ listed, award-winning. Now, why that's important is because the strapline we put on there ourselves says those 2 brand positioning statements, a NASDAQ listed, award-winning LinkedIn Marketing PLC. We've got LinkedIn twice. As a result of that, if you do a search on LinkedIn in the company section for LinkedIn, 70,000 names come up. We come up number 7, even though we are not clearly LinkedIn. It's all about using the keywords, making sure that you get found what you want to be found for, just like Google, exactly the same. Jonathan here, Collective Works, why work alone? Nice background picture, but every single time that we share Collective Works, it comes up and says, why work alone? This is brand positioning statement. Marina Bay Sands use a beautiful picture of Singapore. Changi Airport do a really, really good job in terms of employer branding. In our unique airport community, opportunities with Reach, join us and build your career with the most awarded airport in the world. Now they're branding and talking to employees, talking about staff. And you can share very much engaging content. So Spring Singapore, don't just talk about the services, they talk about enterprise in Singapore, talk about entrepreneurs in Singapore. And that's the point, they're passing on good practice. South China Morning Post, get the fact that LinkedIn, like Facebook, is a feed these days. People are not turning to websites. People aren't going to things like the Straits Times and Business Times anymore, the website or the app. They're looking at how you're sharing it in a feed in Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube. L'Oreal, great talks about things like innovation and productivity. They're not talking about makeup or beauty tips. That's the key. It's the context of LinkedIn, it's a business context. They want to attract talent. They want you to be impressed that L'Oreal are innovative. Different context. ANZ, they're not talking about bank accounts or how long somebody stayed at a branch. They're talking about innovation. They're talking about fintech. They're talking about experience. They're talking about things that present them, ANZ, as a business bank. And that's the key. Same with Marriott. They're not talking about Marriott over the road. They're talking about Marriott in terms of productivity, in terms of meetings and entrepreneurialism, fintech. Different things that actually make you think that Marriott understand business. And that's the key. You then think, where shall I have my event? Oh yeah, Marriott understand business. They'll understand me. I love this picture, Tourism Australia, using a beautiful picture of Tourism Australia. It's become apparent why I'm picking this in a second. Sharing some great content about Tourism Australia. Qantas, down the road in Australia. Lovely picture of a plane. Again, you'll see why I'm showing this in a second. I'm building up. But I love this about Qantas. On their LinkedIn page, they share 2 stories about wine. So obviously they're getting across the fact that if you join Qantas, you have a great time, basically. Because their first story is, it's a time-honored yet unofficial part of corporate life is that you'll go and get pissed on a Friday night for Qantas. You go, great. And the second story is about an entrepreneur who basically promotes wine and sells wine. They're not talking about what it's like to work at Qantas, or why you should work at Qantas, or the pay. They're not giving you jobs out. They're giving you 2 fundamental reasons about the culture and the brand. And they're passing on tips in a business content. So you think, wow, not only do they get the fact that you like wine, but they're actually talking about entrepreneurs on their company page, which have nothing to do with Qantas. Neither of these things have anything to do with planes. And that's how content marketing should work. Don't do this. What's missing? A big picture of Singapore. Remember, Tourism Australia, big picture Australia. Now you'll know, or you may know, you may not know, the Singapore Tourism Board spend more money than any other brand in Singapore. They also employ more marketing agencies than any other brand in Singapore. And they employ more marketing people than any other brand in Singapore. But none of them, not one of them, has looked at their LinkedIn company page and thought they need to put a bloody picture of Singapore there. But they're not the only brand to do that. What's missing? I don't know, picture of a plane. Singapore Airlines plane, another one where they use a national day with a big flag on, flying over Singapore. That's something simple like that. One picture. Why aren't they doing it? They're not the only ones. When I was in New Zealand last week, I had great pleasure in doing this, because Australia and New Zealand hate each other. So Tourism Australia got it. Qantas, get it. Air New Zealand. Not even pictures of any flying hobbits. And they're just promoting lots of jobs. Jobs and jobs and jobs. Really boring. Now, you remember the Qantas ones. Wine, wine, wine. Jobs, jobs, jobs. Which airline are you going to join? Precisely. Tourism New Zealand. No pictures of hobbits or Gandalf anywhere. Missing an opportunity. Couldn't they do a picture of New Zealand in there? Yes. At least they put some content in. This is CNN. Lots of business section. Lots of business content. But their CNN page on LinkedIn is terrible. Remember, South China Morning Post has content. CNN has nothing. So I even looked then at the CNN global page, and they have nothing either. This is CNN. You can't watch a CNN program with like things going this way, and this thing happening, and that thing happening. None of it's happening on LinkedIn. And you would think with them moaning about the fact that nobody reads their publication anymore, their TV, they'd put some content about business in front of 500 million professionals on LinkedIn. No, didn't bother. Not the only ones. China Daily is the same thing. China Daily have a great business section. No, it's on LinkedIn. You need to get on LinkedIn. It's free to put on LinkedIn. And I love to see complaints on LinkedIn. And complaints that stay there for months and months and months. You're thinking, all the branding in the world, and you put a complaint on there, you have not addressed it. This is a complaint. And then 2 months later, she writes, still waiting. So what do you remember? This bit of marketing up here, or this complaint? The same over here. Marketing, complaint. There for months on end, ruining your company branding. Now, number 10 tip is basically messaging. So you do all this personal branding and content marketing and company branding, but then you're going to message people to find that job or find that investment or find that client. And you can do it on LinkedIn through 11 different ways, and pick 3 to show you. The first one, invitations. You can use invitations to basically send to people you're not connected to with a sales message. Because there's a loophole in LinkedIn is that basically allow you to message people using an invitation for free. So use it. I use it all the time to market our workshops or marketing our client dues. This is one for New York, for example. This is one that a guy from Melbourne replied. So you have a whole conversation, even though you're not connected on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn's not like Facebook. You have to be connected to someone to be able to message them, unless you spend money. But this gets around that. And then this is a premium function on LinkedIn, but it's well worth it if you're generating leads on LinkedIn. It's called Sales Navigator. It allows you to really mine the data on LinkedIn. We generate thousands of leads for our clients using Sales Navigator across the entire world, not just in Singapore. America, Europe, Australia, India, China, the whole world. And basically you can create target lists. And they give you new leads based on your target list every single day. It gives you a pipeline. It's wonderful. And then within the pipeline itself, within the list itself, they tell you who's actually active on LinkedIn, because that's key. Because there might be 500 million professionals on LinkedIn, but only 110 million are actually active on a daily basis or monthly basis. They're the people you've got to target. And you can actually identify them also if they pay for the money, they pay for a premium service, and they have an open profile, and they have shared connections, which is what this is here. It means you have 4 data points where if you get the message right, they will respond. And that's the key. So you can generate a whole pipeline by using the Sales Navigator function on LinkedIn. It's well worth doing. They have a free trial. Try it out. The third tip is open linked profile. So I have an open profile because it means I've got this little symbol there. That means you can market to me for free. And if you feel lucky when you go home tonight, you can market to this guy. who you may or may not know, is the co-founder of Facebook and happens to be in Singapore because Singapore gives him lots of tax breaks. But they also say to him, you must basically do a venture capitalist. You must basically invest in local startups. So if you fancy your chances, you could actually message Eduardo for free because there's this little symbol here. So you go to his profile, it says send message, free. So if you've got an idea for a business, don't do it all tonight because you'll get 100 messages from all of you saying, I saw Chris Reed's talk last night, he said I should mail you. That'll make it very popular. But he obviously has billions of dollars, and he's married a Singaporean apparently, so he must be very happy. And you can send him a message for free because he's got this little symbol. That's what you should look out for on LinkedIn. It's free. You don't need the premium function to do it. Whereas Darius here, CEO at 999, is not. So it says InMail. Now you have to pay for InMails. So it's not free. So who are you going to message? You're going to message Eduardo. Nothing to do with the fact that Eduardo is the co-founder of Facebook, and he isn't. So one of them's got billions of dollars, and one of them hasn't. But in summary, LinkedIn is very much a gamification platform. The more you do, the more you get out of it. If you go and develop your personal brand, your content marketing strategy, your company page, and get your messaging right, you too can achieve all your goals, and you too can head the rankings amongst professionals like you on LinkedIn and beat the only man who really cares about being number one, but he's not, the managing director of LinkedIn in Asia Pacific, Olivier Legrand, and he's French. So it's always my pleasure to be above him. Unfortunately, LinkedIn have removed these profile ratings. So I think they removed them because I was for 5 years above Olivier, and he got sick of seeing me. If you want more tips, you can ask good questions, and I can give you a book, but only if you ask good questions about LinkedIn. Yes, you got a question.
What is your approach to addressing non-complaints? I mean, you talked about complaints, but let's say a compliment or some kind of ding-dong that goes on. How do you address that?
The first question, yeah. The second question first. Basically, you should always engage. Always, always, always engage. Well, you could be next because you had a question as well. Basically, you should always, always, always engage. So basically, if someone comments, whether it's negative, positive, or mutual, you should always say thank you. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for taking the time. And if they disagree with you, say why you disagree with them. But the key about LinkedIn is it's professional. So it's very responsible commenting. It's not like Facebook or Twitter or, like on Today newspaper, for example, everyone can be anonymous. And you get lots of abuse and you get basically things that people just abusing. On LinkedIn, you can't do that because I can see where you work. And I can see who you know. And I can see who we both know. And it gives them more responsibility in terms of your commenting. So certainly, if someone compliments you or actually says something challenging on LinkedIn, you should comment back and challenge them back. The reason for the positions is all about search. So basically, I list all my positions, including different cities, because I list Shanghai, Hong Kong, Sydney, Singapore, London, San Francisco, et cetera, because if you do a search in Hong Kong for a LinkedIn marketing agency, and I only put Singapore down, I would not get found. So you have to put the cities down you want to target. So we target Shanghai, Hong Kong, Sydney, Singapore, Switzerland, London, whatever. So we target them around that. Also, the more positions you have, the better. So for example, I'm a board director of the British Chamber of Commerce. I'm also the chair of the marketing group, British Chamber of Commerce. By putting that down, not only am I telling members in Singapore they can find me, but I know that I can find other people in different countries, and I've spoken to the British Chamber across the whole of the world by reaching out on LinkedIn saying, I'm a board director in Singapore, I'd love to come and talk to you in Melbourne or Shanghai or Hong Kong. And they go, oh yeah, I can see you're a board director, I can see you've fulfilled that, let's do a deal. Now, I couldn't do that, and they couldn't find me if I didn't put that down. So you can put your non-executive directorships down, you can put your non-profit roles down there. The more you put down, the more you're likely to get found. So I have the most searched profile in Singapore because I'm using those 80 positions and my keywords and my content to actually get found left, right, and center. So it's all about search. Your question?
I just have I would like to start a company.
Yeah.
So after listening to you, I see that I have a lot of homework to do for branding, and I see many things to start with. So where should I focus first? It's just the name, the branding. So my question is, should I be really active on posting articles? or having a sort of a blog. You
Yep.
said also like Richard Branson that they follow the person, not
Yep,
the
follow
company.
you, yep.
But at the end, I would like I would like to give training, right? So
Yep.
I want to sell my product, but it might be in an indirect way. So should I put the website link or blog link? What do you recommend me?
So you should do it through content marketing. So you're sharing, publishing blogs about it, having a company page, promoting content through the company page, but building up your followers. So if you build your followers into thousands, you can then market your company through your followers, through your content. It's very difficult to create followers on LinkedIn's company pages. They make it phenomenally difficult to actually do that. So it has to be about you. You can reach out to send invitations. You can reach out to do in-mails. You can reach out to publish. You can't do that on a company page. So it's all about using your personal brand to market your company. So write a blog about your startup. Write a blog about what you're doing. Write about your venture, why you want to do it, why you passionately believe in it, and then reach out to fellow people. People like me and people like who use LinkedIn a lot who get to share for you as well. So we share it in our content and our feed. And then our followers see us as well and see your content in our feed. And then you benefit from that because you get more invitations to connect. And you can market it that way. So just do all the things you can possibly do. Yeah.
With so many of the platforms available, how do you manage it so that LinkedIn doesn't become a time sink that traps you there? And you still have time to manage other things and your...
That's a great question. I don't use any other platforms. I'm not even on Facebook.
Oh.
So I dedicate my entire life to LinkedIn.
Right.
And I have a team of 5 people who also work on my account and 25 people in Singapore in Capital Tower who work on other people's accounts across the world because it's very time consuming.
Right.
Phenomenally time consuming. That's why I think I've got a business. I've got a business because it's so time consuming. People go, shit, I haven't got time to do this. I'll outsource it to black marketing. And they can do it for me. Because we write the blogs, people, we do the content, we do the created content, we do the sales navigator, we generate leads, we add connections.
Right.
We can build your personal brand and actually market your company for you on LinkedIn because it's phenomenally time consuming. So you have to you can basically do quick things like adding automation of content like Hootsuite to actually do it at different times. But you need to still write your own blogs. You need to basically send out messages, you need to personalize invitations. So if you meet people here tonight, you should personalize invitations and say, hey, you met people at this event. And people will actually accept that. So it is, yes, it's phenomenally time consuming. But use the app on the way to work, on the MRT, for example, waiting for your friends in a coffee shop or something. And you can use that. That time, it saves time, but it's very, very time consuming. But I believe in everything, you get out of it what you put in. So if you're not prepared to do the work, you won't benefit from the upside of it.
Right.
So put the effort in. What's the second question?
I noticed that do numbers matter, like how many connections you have, or is quality more important?
Both. Very good question. You have to do both. Because I'll give you a very good example. So I was targeting Auckland last week, for example. Now, if I connect with somebody in Auckland, and they know lots of entrepreneurs in Auckland, and I'm targeting entrepreneurs, I need to have lots of people like them to reach out so I can have more second connections so I can reach out to them. Because if I don't have many first connections in Auckland, I can't hit second connections. That's just the way LinkedIn works. So you literally have to have both quantity and quality. So I went from targeting 500 second connections in Auckland to targeting 10,000. Because I started connecting and connecting and connecting with entrepreneurs who then I started meeting, who then led me on to other entrepreneurs. So I built my network in specific areas. But you only have 30,000 connections on LinkedIn. I know it sounds like a lot, but I reached that like 5 years ago. And basically my team delete and add every single day, depending on which country we're targeting. So we use it purely for lead generation. So it's about quantity and quality. You need people with lots of connections to basically make LinkedIn really work for you.
You've talked about personal brand.
Yeah.
I have heard, to my shock, because I am not on LinkedIn, I don't know anything
You're not
about
on LinkedIn?
it. Don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
Last week, somebody said LinkedIn is the only employment market being used by recruiters these days. And I can't work out what it is. Is it? It's
a very good question. It's a very good question. It started as a recruitment platform. That's how it started in America. So it started recruitment, but then people like me came along to Asia. I didn't need recruitment. I needed to find the CMO or the CMO of a company. And if you can find it for recruitment, then it didn't take a genius to figure out that, you can find it for sales and marketing too. So I started using that, and that's when they created Sales Navigator. Because Sales Navigator is all about mining the data to find people active on LinkedIn who you can pitch. And then they started the publishing platform. So then they started saying it was a marketing tool, a content marketing tool. So it is definitely a recruiting platform. They still make most of their money through recruiting and talent solutions. So people do that. I don't think it's the only platform, because people do use WeChat. Say again? Split. Oh, it's split now. There's 3 platforms now. So there's basically 3 different distinct platforms on LinkedIn. LinkedIn.com, Recruiter for the talent and recruiting, and then Sales Navigator, which is the 3rd platform for sales and marketing. So there are 3 different platforms, and it's confusing. And they don't talk to each other either. So they're designed by 3 different teams in San Francisco who obviously hated each other, because they're completely different designs. And no, we're not going to talk to you, but the same company. No, we're not going to talk to you. So, but Facebook do it. WeChat does it in China, and things like Line does it in places like Korea and Japan. So you can't say it's the only platform, because it's not. But it's certainly the most important one.
What if we want to use LinkedIn for non-profit or civil society? What do you think?
Very good idea. Yes, no, you can definitely use it with non-profits. Definitely use it with non-profits.
Really?
Because you can start to put the company page down there, and you can blog about it as well. You can actually do some content marketing and blog about it. Right. So put some content up there, talk about your charity, talk about, I mean, British Chamber of Commerce is a non-profit. Yeah. And I market the British Chamber of Commerce, and I get the team there to market the British Chamber of Commerce all the time. So yes, definitely do that. Yes.
I'm just curious, those are good examples that you show for the LinkedIn profile.
Yep.
Are they just happen to be good, they show them, or are they your client?
No, we don't show our clients. We actually have very strict confidentiality agreements where we're not allowed to show our clients. Because for the very reason why you're supposed to think that you really are communicating with Richard Branson, even though you and I both know we're not communicating with Richard Branson. He's 11 million followers. He hasn't got time to run 220 companies and reply to all his questions on LinkedIn. He's got a team of people doing it, but you are supposed to believe that the CEOs we work for are the genuine thing. It's like even on my profile, and I can tell you this because I didn't sign a confidentiality agreement myself, but I have 5 people on my account. So people think they're talking to me, and like they come up to me at a networking event going, Chris, it's great we had that conversation the other day on LinkedIn. I'm going, that conversation on LinkedIn? Yes, that one, yes. Which I know nothing about because I had nothing to do with it at all. Somebody else wrote it for me. So sometimes my team have to actually brief me on conversations I've had on LinkedIn with other people that might actually mean something when I met somebody. It's like, because I know nothing about them.
I admit that I don't have a LinkedIn account, but after hearing your talk, I am very convinced. Okay? So I'll have a question.
Yeah.
What would be a good approach to make the first few connections on LinkedIn?
All these people here. Basically, get all their names, contact them and say, it's great to meet you at Chris's event about LinkedIn at the National Library, and then come to the National Library, use the books, and then look up lots of other famous people, if they have famous people books it, and then basically send a message out, personalize it, and personalize it in the area you want to. So what area are you in? Okay. So you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to work for Singapore Airlines or something like that? Or? Okay. So basically reach out to people who you think might be useful to you in your career and being an entrepreneur, and make it work for you. Yes?
Hi, Chris. There are pros for using LinkedIn, but what are the cons?
That's a good question. I think the biggest con is obviously that it's very time-consuming. It's phenomenally time-consuming. Actually learning about what LinkedIn changes on a daily basis, because LinkedIn changes things. So something that was there yesterday is no longer there today. Like today, I found out that, for example, that LinkedIn made it even harder to follow company pages. You used to be able to go to the company page and press the word follow. Now they've removed that, and you have to go to 3 little buttons on the right-hand side, which you're supposed to know is the word follow if you do a drop-down menu. And it's like, oh my God, you're just making it phenomenally hard to make. They haven't really thought it through. And it's hard enough to get people to follow your company page anyway, without having to explain, it's actually up here, the 3 things, and you drop down and you do that. So that's obviously very frustrating, but I talk to them all the time. I talk to the user experience people in San Francisco, because that's where it's controlled. It's not controlled by Singapore, because this is the regional sales office. The real key, the power is in San Francisco. But as I explained before, there's separate teams there developing separate areas. So they've got separate platforms. They almost compete against each other and don't talk to each other. And that is manifest when it comes to looking at the user experience on LinkedIn, which is not as seamless as something like Facebook, for example. But then Facebook aren't going after the target audience and don't charge a subscription like LinkedIn do. So you really got, but that's the biggest frustration. But then you just got to work through it and see the benefits. And that's absolute key. Next question. Yes, right at the back.
Hello, Chris. Currently, my scenario is that I will create some content marketing for like sharing my company website to try to get more leads, you know. And my boss will ask me, okay, we want to get more, views, all this, etc., right?
Yeah.
So he will ask me, should I share your post or should I like your post? Then I always don't know have a answer to him because I don't know which one will work better to get more views. Like, do we share it or do you like it?
It's a very good question. It's a very, very good question. If you share it, it means that it comes up saying you have shared the post. And effectively, you're starting a whole new feed. If you like it, you're joining somebody else's feed. So it's like doing the same thing on Facebook. If you start a whole new conversation on Facebook with a new post, you're basically sharing it. But if you like somebody else, you're joining the conversation. So it's entirely up to you. I think it's better if somebody else has already shared it, that you start liking and having the conversation, because they've started that community. And there's lots of other people. And if you like that, as we saw with Candice, every other person who liked and commented and shared that also sees you commenting it. Whereas if you just share it, only your connections can then see it. So there is a subtle difference between the two. Next question.
Regarding your comments about contacts and employees, right? Do you have any specific advice for employees of a particular company who want to manage their own personal LinkedIn profiles? Anything specific apart from the 10 that you shared?
It's obviously on LinkedIn you're representing both your personal brand and your company brand, whether you like it or not. So you have a responsibility to your company. So you have to basically think about what you're putting down there. And obviously you should be promoting the company as well as promoting yourself. But there's ways of doing it which promotes both. So it'll keep the company happy and keep you happy as well. So personalize it with your branding, the background, your headline, your summary section about your career journey, your blogging, your content marketing. Do it yourself to personalize it, but also make sure the company page is described in the right kind of way. And that's key as well, absolutely key.
How important is it to annotate your profile with the your social interests and other kinds of work which you do, which is not related anywhere to your...
I'd say, yeah, that's a very good question. I would say you have to do it in a business context. So, for example, I'm board director of the British Chamber, so I can put that on there. I wouldn't put the fact that I don't put stuff about the fact that I'm going to see the Foo Fighters in a couple of weeks' time, unless it was in a business context. If it was a business context, I would. And I often use rock music, for example, to amplify things in a business context. I often use celebrities and rock stars and film stars and that kind of thing. So my current blog is, for example, from Breaking Bad. And I'm talking about how Breaking Bad is the essence of personal branding. If anyone seen Breaking Bad? Yes? Okay, so everyone knows about Heisenberg and how he uses personal branding to go from basically a chemistry teacher to a drug lord. And it's all about personal branding. So I demonstrate personal branding by using that. So often I've seen rock stars doing the same thing. So I write passionately about that in a business context. And I think you've got to be keen to write about it in a business context to make sure it's key. If you just basically take a photograph of your food you just had and shared it on LinkedIn, that wouldn't work. If you share pictures about babies and weddings and people dying on LinkedIn, that also doesn't work. It's not the right context, unless you're selling babies and weddings and death, in which case it is the right context. You know, we work for a funeral director.
Yeah.
We work for a funeral director who basically designs coffins and eco-friendly designs. I know you might think, well, that's a bit weird, but he's selling to other funeral homes, basically, funky designs. You like Metallica, you can have Metallica coffin, which I think is brilliant. I'm deciding whether to have Metallica or Foo Fighters on my coffin. So you basically get that, or black marketing or something like that. You can basically have whatever you want. So the whole idea is it's got to be in the business context, and that's really, really good, because otherwise you get a backlash. And it's the same with the social things. The social ones that LinkedIn make you suggest is like, do you like horse riding, things like this. Unless you're running a horse riding school or you're using horse riding for leadership and teamwork, it's not the right context. So I think you've always got to be in the back of your mind thinking, this is a professional network, it's a business context. Does this make sense to my network in a business professional context? And that's key. Otherwise, put it on Facebook. Again, it goes back to the brunch versus Costa Coffee. That's the separation. You've got to be thinking to yourself, that's the context. It's about who you know, not what you know, as this presentation's all about. It's about reaching out and using those contacts, but also the experience, and then come up with an idea, learning about what niche and where the niche is, and then going for it and creating your own business. But you can't do that if you know nothing about the business world. You have to build up your knowledge about the business world. So take all the opportunities to learn about the business world and go for it.